Hello and welcome back to the Hazley Crawford Stadium, Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago, as we get ready for match number 2 on this day 3 of the 2025 CFU Under-14 Challenge Series Girls Tier 2 Group A. We're getting ready to witness Bonaire taking on St. Lucia. The CFU Challenge Series is brought to you courtesy the host association, which is the Trinidad and Tobago Football Association. And of course, internet at all of the venues is being powered by Flow. The CFU Challenge Series is a collaboration with FIFA for an expanded Challenge Series program. The Challenge Series, of course, being designed as a development tournament for players, referees, and coordinators. And this year's edition includes capacity building workshops with female athlete health education at the center. And of course, at the end of it all, a research survey will be conducted to seek out ways to improve or continue the improvement of women and girls football in this region. More than a competition, the Challenge Series is developing athletes, administrators, and communities, as well as enhancing the tournament experience. In just a few moments from now, we will come back or rejoin with kickoff here at the Hazley Crawford Stadium.
It's not simply about how many games you win, but more about how many lives you touch. This is why we do it. Because football is life.
Because we know firsthand the power of football can positively change lives.
Because there's nothing else we'd rather do.
Because our hearts beat football.
Because there's nothing quite like representing your country.
For the love of the game.
Por el amor.
Pour l'amour.
I'd leave the war.
For the love of the beautiful game.
We are back here at the Hazley Crawford Stadium, anticipating kickoff in this, a Group A encounter in Tier 2. It's Bonaire taking on St. Lucia from the Mecca of Trinidad and Tobago football, the Hazley Crawford Stadium. I am Jassy Marik, and I'm joined today in the gantry by former Trinidad and Tobago international Radanfa Abubakar.
Good afternoon to all you viewers, and welcome to another encounter here in this CFU Under-14 Challenge Series Tier 2. We're in Group A this afternoon. Bonaire against St. Lucia. Bonaire yet to register a point in this competition. They had a hard-fought loss against Dominica on Friday. St. Lucia have already completed 2 games, also yet to earn a point.
And look at the standings. We'll see that these two teams are toward the bottom of the group, whereas the US Virgin Islands and Dominica lead the way 6 points each. Let's get ready for the national anthems of both nations. So we are just almost ready for kickoff. Just in your picture, the officials for today's proceedings. Kimoya Jacobs will be the woman with the whistle, assisted by first assistant referee Jessette Kerr-Wilson and her second assistant Venige Hunkins. The fourth official is Shandor Wilkinson. These teams, as mentioned, yet to register in this tournament. St. Lucia also close yesterday before relinquishing a 4-3 result to Dominica. And of course, the Dominicans now joint group leaders in this Group A in Tier 2. So they'll want to right their wrongs, so to speak, in this one. Meanwhile, Bonaire, pictured now, also would want to chalk up their first W. And what better way to start that mission or that quest than by against a team that is also winless in this competition.
Yeah, something's got to give today. Somebody's going to end up with a point at least today. Of course, St. Lucia has played one more game so far in this competition. Their star lady is, of course, the number 11, Chiara Polias. Outstanding hat-trick in the last game in a losing effort. They're going to look to her for all the attacking inspiration, that's for sure.
Yeah, she was the be-all and end-all for them in a really heart or gut-wrenching defeat. It's not often that you see a player score a hat-trick and come out on the losing side of things, Redanfa.
Yeah.
And certainly she cut a really disgruntled and disappointed figure at the end of 70 minutes yesterday. Can she lift her spirits and lift her team to the desired result today? Time will tell.
Yeah, not easy picking yourself up after such a disappointing loss. Got to dust yourself off and get back on that saddle 24 hours later. So it's really a show of their character to be out here and ready to perform once more.
That's right. Only one change made from yesterday's St. Lucia team. Number 10 coming in is Faye Frejis, and she comes in at the expense of number 5, Karima Ferguson. Andrea De Caries is in goal. Of course, look out for number 11, Polias. Michaela Sam as well, adding to that attacking flair from the St. Lucians. On the other end, a familiar name, Alicia Trinidad. She's in goal for Bonaire. And of course, they also look toward their attacking trident of Juliendra Janga and company. Here they are now pressing high early on, led by Nigeli Janga. Of course, sisters in the ranks of this Bonaire side. Number 9. Here comes St. Lucia with their first attacking movement. Polias is onto the ball early, but she just pulled out of that challenge. Here's Frigis. She loses out, and this now is one of the Janga girls, Nigeli. And the first foul of today's proceedings, committed by the team in blue. St. Lucia conceding an early free kick. This is a good-looking ball to Nigeli Janga. And a good dummy, and could this be a shot for Bonaire? There were legs just being swung about. And eventually St. Lucia be able to bring it clear. This is Polias trying to switch the attack, but the player had straight offside.
Dwelled on it a bit too long, delayed too long before she made the pass.
Yeah, that was Sam trying to sneak through the back door that time. But the pass, as you mentioned, was held up back just a bit. And it just takes a split second for a player to stray beyond the line. And that time, Sam guilty of straying offside.
A very high line, I might add, from Bonaire to start this game.
That's right.
Keeping it very compact in the midfield. Of course, Lucia has one more game under their belt. They've played three days in a row, so fatigue might become a factor with Bonaire, of course, having one less game played so far. But of course, as we mentioned before, both searching for their first points this afternoon.
Yeah, that's really the key factor in how they'll approach today. I think for St. Lucia, as you quite rightfully mentioned, having played more matches, they'll want to try to get the dirty work done and dusted as early as possible. Here they are now with Sam to Sashali Mata. Mata to Polias. She's stopped in her tracks. This now is Bonaire. This is Janga. Number 9. Still battling. And it's eventually cleared away by Neptune. Polias takes control. Lays it back to Kayla Toussaint. And it's blocked out of play for a St. Lucia throw-in.
Extremely high line from Bonaire. Something that St. Lucia can exploit if Sam on this left side, who has good pace in number 19, if she could time her run and get behind that massive open space behind the Bonaire back line, that could be a way in for them today.
First, they'll have to get this ball clear. They do so now. It's with the player coming into the starting role. And this is Polias. She's away. Polias is off to the races. And she's being tripped. She's maintaining her feet. Whoa. And this is a brilliant goal. In the blink of an eye, Polias goes from defense to attack. And St. Lucia have open scoring here in the 5th minute of play. What a goal.
Outstanding from Polias. Wriggles free of her marker. So clever to cut across a defender. Almost tripped up. Able to get a half yard just to get her shot away. With precision. Kisses it off the far upright. Yeah. We told you about this, Polias. Here she is on the score sheet already. 1-0 St. Lucia leads.
Yeah, just as she did yesterday. She's off and running quite early in proceedings. Of course, she would have scored the equalizer for St. Lucia in the 16th minute yesterday. Today, she's taken 11 minutes less to get her name on the score sheet yet again in this competition. Here's Mata trying to spin and find a yard. This is Polias now, skipping past the challenge. And one just running out of play.
Yeah, just
to
have a look at the goal again. So clever from Polias. This touch takes the ball across the defender, so she's only forced to foul, and that slows down her run. It's not a foot race anymore. She has to be ever so careful. Clever from Polias, and they finish the match. Outstanding from this young lady.
Here she is again trying to create something. This is a good-looking ball out towards Sam. On the scene is Bonaire defender, and this is again good work by Frégis to release Kayla Toussaint. And she's able to win her team a throw in high up the pitch. So already Polias influential in the attacking endeavors of St. Lucia. That time a good ball just to release Kayla Sam into the space. But diligent work by Divinely Cecilia for Bonaire kept that from blossoming into anything more serious. So the latest free kick is in favor of Bonaire. Here they are now with Nigeli Janga. She'll try to play this one through. It's a good ball through in that. Can she get the shot off? Well defended by Neptune. Doing the recovery work there for St. Lucia that time. The player through was Uniqua da Costa Gomez for Bonaire. And she is still trying to come to terms with what might have been. Let's look at it again. A good ball through the channel. Good first touch. But Neptune stuck to it and was just able to get a toe in.
Excellent recovery from Neptune. She was caught out by the initial ball, but put the afterburners on and caught up with Gomez to poke it out for this corner. Oh, yikes. Heavy touch.
Play resumes. This is Akela Sam to Frégis. Frégis just trying to get it into the feet of Aname Louis, but they win it back now, St. Lucia, and can they get it through? This is Frégis. Frégis. She also has a bit of running, trying to show the Bonaire defenders a clean pair of heels. She's eventually bundled over, asking what's going to give.
Might be a touch fortunate to get away with that.
Referee Jacobs not willing to lift her whistle to lips. Instead, St. Lucia will come again now. This is Sam. Closed down by K2 Openur. And it's going to be a throw-in for Bonaire.
Again, there's a very, very high line from Bonaire. Once the Solutions are able to penetrate that time, their runs and their passes, they seem to be in a bit of trouble. They don't have the pace necessarily to keep up with anybody breaking that line, so it is very risky. That's
a good tackle there by Neptune again. Toussaint trying to pick Polias out. Frégis back to help, and now it's Aname Louis. Toussaint again. This is a good ball to Frégis. Gets past one challenge. And Mata will go after it. Frégis is also there again. Frégis. So she's already having an impact. Getting started. This is Sam though. Sam opens her body up. Just was shaping to put that one into the far corner. Just couldn't direct it on target in the end. Good dogged work by St. Lucia. Really determined work to win back possession. And then when it opened up for Sam, one thought that she would have at least forced a save out of Trinidad in the Bonaire goal. Meanwhile, here comes Polias again. She goes past one tackle and two, and then just flicks this one with the outside of the boot to Frégis, who also tries to be a bit cheeky. But nothing giving. St. Lucia looking dangerous each time they come forward, but still unable to really put some insurance onto that 5th minute item scored by their star player Polias. This is a good ball again, looking for Gomez, but she's bounced off of it by Neptune. And now there's going to be a stoppage by referee Jacobs. Fernando, you certainly must like what you see from St. Lucia, but to your point, you keep harping on the fact that Bonaire are playing quite high and they've almost been exploited again.
Yeah, just in that instance, Sam was waiting for an eternity out wide to get it. It was so clustered in the middle there. That's the thing. They don't have the pace for when it probably goes over the top or a player bursts from midfield to keep up. So I think they're better served being a bit deeper and having St. Lucia come to them rather than attempting to meet them. Complicating that even more is the fact that the player on the ball doesn't have that much pressure on her. So she has the ability and the time to get her head up and pick a pass or even pick up some momentum with a dribble and get at that rather flat back line. It's dangerous stuff from Bonaire. It's not quite paying off for them at the moment. And it's allowing St. Lucia some good looks at goal.
Yeah, so it seems as though, to their credit, St. Lucia, they have also introduced, as mentioned, Frégis to the starting lineup, and she's certainly taken a bit of the workload off of Polias. She's perhaps not as speedy, but certainly showing that she can get in behind that defense and threaten goal.
Yeah, in yesterday's match, as we mentioned, it seems like Polios was all alone for the majority of the game. Yeah. Handball, just as she came down from the initial contact with the ball. Yeah, so it's good to see Frigis in and around Polias, giving another option, giving the defense someone else to think about as well, and freeing up even more space for this dangerous Polias, who's of course lining up this free kick from distance. She can strike them from here. Wouldn't surprise me if she goes for goal.
So, tense moment here. Kayla Polias does get it on target, but it's a fairly routine save for Alicia Trinidad in the Bonaire goal. She distributes. It's almost back with Polias, but now Bonaire pick it up before it's whacked away by Neptune. Here's Van der S for Bonaire trying to run it out. Unable to do so. Bonaire on the charge now. Going to be a lot of work for the player against the St. Lucian captain, Andrew, who sticks to her task and gets it half cleared. Daria Tisson now. It's being fouled, or rather committing the foul, and this is going to be a free kick to Bonaire. So 15 minutes played, 15 and a half, just about. Free kick here now for Bonaire. And of course, an opportunity to address the 1-0 scoreline with them trailing St. Lucia.
There's that tactic that we've seen quite a bit in this tournament. Players dropping in to assist the keeper in and around the goal line. Sometimes more hindrance than a help.
That time the header by Bonaire's Isabella Klinger, unable to hit the target. It's a good challenge. Great challenge by Klinger. just as something looked to be developing for St. Lucia.
Referee just ordering the throw in to be taken nearer to where the ball actually went out. St. Lucia obviously having the better of it thus far, but Bonaire have looked positive. The two Jangas and Freya in front always provided an option going forward. But to their credit, the St. Lucian centre backs Andrew and Neptune have showed their athleticism and speed, and they've read the game well enough to nullify the threat of that front three thus far.
Yeah. It's been interesting the way that this Bonaire team has approached things. They certainly do have some quite skillful looking players, and as mentioned, the Hujangas, as referee Jacobs signals the cooling break at the midway point or thereabouts in this first half.
Yeah, we did have some showers early on, but has given way to some bright sunshine, and of course these 4 o'clock kickoffs, it's still quite warm. So these breaks are crucial for players to rehydrate and keep themselves fresh, not just their bodies, but their minds.
Interestingly, in the earlier kickoff, we didn't see one of the cooling breaks throughout the entire 70-minute period. So maybe that's as a result of it being a bit cooler at the time. Just before kickoff, it was actually storming here at the Hazel Crawford Stadium, and all of a sudden, the clouds opened up to reveal this resplendent sunshine, but things remained quite cool, and the surface down below remained quite slick as well. So the officials then, in their wisdom, decided that there was no need for that break in proceedings, and the players held up well. I don't think there were too many stoppages for injuries or cramps or anything of the sort. So all's well that ends well.
You speak about the surface, Jassy. This surface has been relayed recently for the Commonwealth Games, Youth Games earlier this year. It has held up well. It takes quite a beating with game after game. There's been intermittent showers, but pristine surface. It's top class here at the Hazel Crawford Stadium.
Yeah, the track as well around it. Seating as well has been rejuvenated somewhat. And of course, not too long from now, the Hazel Crawford Stadium will come alive again. There's CONCACAF Cup action coming up. The Defense Force, one of Trinidad and Tobago's representatives in that tournament, will be taking on a Haitian opponent in the coming days, as a matter of fact. And of course, following on that closely will be the commencement of the final stage of World Cup qualifiers. Trinidad and Tobago will host Curacao. First up, September 5th.
Yeah, but for now, we're having a look at the B in the ABC Islands. That's Bonaire, Curacao, of course, the C in those ABC Islands just off the coast of Venezuela.
You would have seen the A in action, Aruba, last night against Trinidad and Tobago, coming away with a sensational 2-1 win coming from behind. So not happy times so far for TNT as it pertains to that sort of Dutch influence, or those Dutch influenced islands. Maybe on September 5th we'll make some sort of statement toward that end, but in the meantime, Bonaire coming forward. Could be a chance on for them still. This is a good ball. Can it be brought under the control of one of the Jangas? Juliendra. She's easily stepped around by the captain of St. Lucia, Andrew, and she sends Polius on her way. There's a push. Polius maintains composure and just shoots this one directly at Alicia Trinidad. She had the goal at her mercy. And one thing I do like about Polius is her tenacity. Usually you would see players go down trying to, draw a decision from the referee. And had she gone down there, that would have, in all likelihood, been a red card.
Yeah, but she's eyes on the goal. She wants to score. She's not trying to buy a foul or anything like that. Stays on her feet, shows excellent balance. Just couldn't compose her finish to knock it past the goalkeeper. Good positioning from Trinidad
to make the save, yeah. And then here,
tough challenge, solid challenge. Looked to be all ball, but penalized there.
Is there a bit of defensive bias in there?
As always.
Yeah, it looked clean to me as well. But referee Jacobs is the one with the whistle. We just have the microphones.
Yeah, a bit too robust for her liking. But it does give Polius another opportunity to add to her tally and St. Lucia's. There's that defender on the line once more. Oh, might have been brought into play. Did she use her hand there?
I suspect so, but me and referee Jacobs only able to spot the touch off of the keeper, Trinidad, for a corner kick. So that's the decision for now. But I suspect there might have been a handball by the defender on the line. As we see it floated here, very deliberate. Polius seemed to be going for that top corner. Trinidad. The hand certainly was outstretched, but did she make contact?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Kind of difficult to tell from that angle, but might have been a combination of both hands there to get it wide. Nonetheless, Bonaire still have to defend this corner. Just over 10 minutes left in this half.
Goes all the way through. It's recovered now, though, by the captain, Andrew. She turns nicely and then checks back. But she's being harassed all the way by Cecilia. And eventually Bonaire come away with it, but it's only now clear there'll be some defending to do here for Louis. For Nivea Louis, and she does well enough to win a throw-in.
Yeah, all four defenders for St. Lucia have decent pace, and those longer balls they're able to chase down, get to it first, and deal with any danger.
Yeah, that's a foul. Aname Louis late in clattering into Janga Nejeli, the number 9. And this is a free kick from way outside, but it's watched all the way out by Andrea De Caries in goal for St. Lucia. 25 minutes played, just 10 minutes remaining in this first half. And so far, so good for St. Lucia, but they'll want to add to what they already have, courtesy of Kayla Polius in the 5th minute. Bonaire, however, also would be planning some sort of way to get back into the match. Could this be it? Nope. Changa can't control it, and Polius turns, and now she's away to send her straight offside. Polius holds the pass intelligently, and now she releases it, trying maybe to reverse it toward Frégis. Wasn't aware. And now it's Bonaire. Changa to Van Rijn. Gomez just barging into Louis. And now Polius will get there ahead of her defender. Skips past the challenge. Polius just getting the ball stuck between her legs and allowing the player to recover. That's Fien van der Es for Bonaire. Polius away again, but she's gaining the attention of the Bonaire defense, and rightfully so. They would have done their homework certainly, and they know what danger she possesses. This one is booted away, chased now by Van Rijn. She's not going to get there anytime ahead of Neptune. Here now is Louis. Plays this one up towards Sam. Anime Louis now. It's a good ball into Nigeli Janga. She flicks it out wide to Frey. But she just can't get around Andrew. Andrew is really a tough customer, tough cookie there in the leading the back line for St. Lucia. And now here's Polius again, just able to turn quite freely. She's a very technically gifted player. She uses both feet. It's a good effect. At that time, though, unable to pick out the pass before being smothered by two Bonaire defenders. This is Anime Louis. Actually deflects to Polius. That's good skill to make way. Again, thinks about releasing the pass as she suspected the player might have gone offside.
Yeah, sometimes she just needs that little bit of extra help, a little extra option to pass in and around her. She does have the tendency to perhaps take an extra touch in anticipation of that movement that sometimes isn't quite there. But take nothing away from her prodigious talent. And the talent of these two centre backs for St. Lucia as well, Andrew and Neptune, have been rock solid thus far. They've read the game well, they've shown their speed and athleticism. And that's left goalkeeper De Carey's a mere spectator for this half so far.
Polius now to lead the counter-attack potentially. She's trying for the big ball, so to speak, and it's cut out by the Bonaire defense.
Yeah, it doesn't need that much precision when there's so much space available behind that Bonaire back line. But unable to get it through on that occasion.
Here's Andrew. Picked up by Gomez for Bonaire. And now here's Polius again, just using her body so well. And you can see what she's trying to do. She's attempted it on a couple of occasions, just trying to reverse that ball through for the late run of either Sam on this near side or Mata.
Excellent again from Neptune on the cover.
Frejis.
Time and space.
Good ball to Polius. They've linked well, that duo. And this again, this time Polius is successful. A great ball to Akela Sam. She gets past the first challenge. She's still growing. And there might have been foul in the area, but the flag on the far side is up for offside.
Yeah, against Sam on the initial pass through. The referee didn't spot it on the far side, so
He still hasn't given it actually, so
I think they're just having that discussion now. But the flag did go up straight away when that ball was through onto Sam's path.
I'm not sure. Meanwhile, play has resumed with the throw-in, and now it's with Lucia again for another throw-in on that far side. Coming up on just 3 minutes left now in first half regulation time. St. Lucia would want to add something to that 1-goal lead as soon as possible. Bonaire have not been much of a threat in terms of goal mouth action, but certainly been there and thereabouts. Been able to get onto the front foot a couple of times and maybe get into the opposition penalty area, but without really testing the carry so far.
No, largely due to Andrew and Neptune being very tidy at the back so far. They've outpaced the two Jangas and Frey, and anything that has slipped through or over that back line. So Bonaire is going to have to perhaps re-strategize if that's their plan. Got to find another way through or around that solid St. Lucia defense.
Here now is Sam, the player we saw earlier, being called for offside. It seemed as though she was impeded that time, but referee Jacobs,
rather belatedly,
very belatedly, and now coming over to take this free kick is Andrew. She spots the run of Polias. Polias just wasn't quite sure whether the defender was about to get a decisive touch or not.
And perhaps she got a call from a keeper to let it go.
Andrew steps in again for St. Lucia. And Anna-May Louis just trying to find Sam down beneath us. Unable to do so. It's going to be a throw-in to Bonaire. Just about 30 seconds remaining in regulation time in this first period. It's a solid tackle. The official assistant referee spots it and is able to alert Jacobs. The player sliding in that time was Klinger for Bonaire, dangerously. As the latest free kick is taken by Andrew, brought down by Frégis. She gets it back now. Frégis gets past one, and then the ball just squirts off of her from an attempted clearance by the Bonaire defense and rebounds toward goal, forcing a save from Alicia Trinidad just at the end of regulation time.
She had to be alert there because it wasn't a shot per se. It just ricocheted off of the attempted clearance and flew towards goal. So sharp reflexes to keep that on out. 30 seconds to keep St. Lucia out here.
This is Polias. Andrew wants it back, gets it now, and will try to flight this one in toward any blue shirt. Here now is Toussaint. Frégis trying to get a piece of it. They just can't bring it under control before it's eventually booted clear. Neptune is first to it for St. Lucia. Gives it right back to Bonaire, however. This is Gomez. Gomez is trying to find Ryan. This is Najeli Changa. Again, just out of ideas and allowing the St. Lucians to retreat. Frégis now to Anna-May Louis. Or rather, that's Tissot trying to release Mata. Mata is sticking to it. This is a good ball. Frégis, can she get there? No, it's with Polias. Polias, good skill. And eventually, that is a foul, or rather an offside call against Bonaire. And that is all that the first half will offer in this one here at the Hazley Crawford Stadium. At the end of it, St. Lucia 1, Bonaire 0, a goal scored in the 5th minute by Caleb Polius, separating both teams. Rodolfo, just quickly your thoughts on how proceedings would have unfolded.
Yeah, St. Lucia, I think good value for their win. That young lady again, Polius, bursting through early on to complete the finish in a brisk start for them. They've had the majority line share of possession. Andrew and Neptune have kept the attacking trio of Bonaire quiet, and that has all amounted to St. Lucia being on top at this point.
Yeah, it presents a really interesting prospect for the second half. In the meantime, though, as things stand, St. Lucia leading Bonaire in this Group A Tier 2 clash here at the Hazley Crawford Stadium, 1-0. We'll return with second half play after these messages.
Not simply about how many games you win, but more about how many lives you touch. This is why we do it.
Because football is life.
Because we know firsthand the power football can positively change lives.
Because there's nothing else we'd rather do.
Because our hearts beat football.
Because there's nothing quite like representing your country.
For the love of the game.
Por el amor.
Pour l'amour. I'd leave the war.
For the love of the beautiful game.
Protection that moves to your beat. Protect your home with Armor Security. With 24/7 monitoring, instant alerts, motion sensors, and rapid response, you and your loved ones stay protected day and night. Sign up for the Protector or Commander package today and get a free security camera and installation. Armor Security, powered by Flow, in partnership with All Pro Security. We keep your rhythm flowing. Visit us in-store or online at discoverflow.co for more details.
Welcome back to the Hazy Crawford Stadium for action in this Group A Tier 2 encounter between Bonaire and St. Lucia in the CFU Under-14 Challenge Series Girls. St. Lucia currently with the lead, 1-0. That goal scored in the 5th minute by number 11, Kayla Polias. Meanwhile, Bonaire will make 3 changes to start the second half. The players in are number 10, Early Beaumont, number 5, Chloe Peters, and number 2, Elvie Boss. The players out: number 3, Luna Van Rijn, number 7, Fien Van Der Es, and number 8, Juliandra Janga. So 3 changes to start the second half, Bonaire.
3 offensive changes as well, freshening up that forward line that has so far been completely nullified by the back 4 of St. Lucia.
Here they come now through one of their substitutes, Bonaire. This is Klinger, challenged by Tisson, and eventually it's out for a corner kick for the Dutch Islanders.
Swung in, dangerous area, but stabbed away by Regis, and further clear by Sam, but back in their direction, substitute Peters. Eventually hacked away by the impressive Neptune. And again Neptune. And Neptune for a 3rd time, but it comes back again before eventually being cut out by Polias and Sense. Could they just break through here now? Oh, in the way is Fiorentina, and it's coached through to goalkeeper Trinidad.
Yeah, just doing enough to throw the player off as she was about to shoot. But there still might be something on for St. Lucia. Could Hussein get on to the end? Eventually, another intervention by Trinidad. St. Lucia still keeping it upfield. This is Polias. Polias is through again. Should she have cut the angle? She didn't need to. Wait a goal indeed by this very mercurial talent, Kayla Polias, for St. Lucia. Makes it 2-0 in the 39th minute. She just likes to score these early goals, Radadfa.
Yeah, 5 minutes in the first half. This time just takes her 3 minutes to get on the score sheet in the second half. Bursting through. Tight angle. Could have squared the pass across the box instead. Goes for power and height. Powerful finish. Commanding finish from Polias to notch her second and St. Lucia's second. Doubles the team's lead.
So early in the second half, they get the goal that might allow them to play a little bit more freely. They stuck to their guns, whereas the Bonaire technical staff would have seen the need for 3 substitutions. St. Lucia have gone back with the starting 11, trusted in them to be able to re-energize their efforts, and repaid for that fate just 3 minutes into the second half with a second item for Caleb Polias.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if the tactics change as they did yesterday when St. Lucia led. Polias was withdrawn to a more defensive role in order to, we would assume, to protect that lead. It will be interesting to see if that is repeated. Of course, it didn't quite work out for St. Lucia yesterday.
Yeah, it only allowed Dominica to become more emboldened, and in so doing, they were able to regain the lead in that match and go on to win it 4-3. Folia's got a hat trick. She's on a hat trick today. One more to complete it. And so that will certainly be on their minds as well. This is Frégis. Frégis does well. Slips it into Polias. Polias is thinking about releasing Sam. This is Peters for Bonaire. This is a good-looking ball, but it's running all the way through to the carries. She's been a very dormant figure in this goal for St. Lucia. Not much, and just in a matter of seconds, 2 touches of the ball for her.
Yeah, comfortable touches, just fielding over hit passes. Hasn't had an actual save to make thus far. And that's credit to that midfield and the defensive pairing of Neptune and Andrews.
Polias again with a good touch to bring this one down. Still there and thereabouts. Heads it forward. Sam is after it, and it's led away for Bonaire. Throw into St. Lucia. This is Daria Tisson. Foul through.
It's not a free kick. She's going to have to throw it over.
He does. That's suspiciously so
She's it's also false throw.
she's still quizzing the assistant as to what she did wrong, but I think it was all clear to see. It wasn't that fluid motion of the arms. Bonaire now coming forward. This is good work by Klinger and trying to send Chloe Peters on the way.
Yeah, she's looked bright since coming on. Hasn't quite got the better of Tissot just yet, but she showed some good vision with her passes. An attempt to find a diminutive boss who's occupying that central attacking position. Don't think she's had a touch just yet, but she's been buzzing around those 2 centre backs. Not quite got involved. As a coach, of course, would have wanted her to be after being introduced at halftime.
Polias is off again. She's being harassed. Help arise in the form of Sam. But still, throw in awarded to girls in white. This is Beaumont, one of the substitutes. She's with it again now. Early Beaumont. Plays this one into Janga. Nagieli. Peters. Being attended to by Andrew, the captain of St. Lucia, who opts for the safe option. Just puts it out of touch. And concedes a throw-in to Bonaire. Janga. Robbed of it by... Who's that? Tissot again. Andrew. Klinger with a good ball. Chloe Peters is giving chase, but she's not going to beat Andrew to it. He does that really nicely. And then this is a long effort by Beaumont. Neptune just ducking under it and allowing it to go out for goal kick to St. Lucia.
In fact, I reckon the referee has seen perhaps a bit of a touch from Tisson. Has she given a corner?
She
Yes,
has.
indeed. To bemused look from at least 8 of the St. Lucia players, but they have to organize quickly to defend this corner.
Peters tries to force it beyond Mata, who does well to repel. Andrew again, and here's Polius. 3 ahead of her, and 3 St. Lucians in company as well. Polius tries to skip past the challenge. She's still in possession, but the play is stopped for the foul. Wendriona Florentina, the captain for Bonaire. Polius again now. Oh, this is good skill. Sam ahead of her. Sam gets it now. Takes 1 touch to get inside. Just tries to check back on Florentina again.
Who stuck to her task once more. Not the biggest, very tenacious, not afraid to throw her body about. She's been good for Bonaire all afternoon long as well.
So this latest throw-in is taken by Beaumont to Peters. Peters gets it upfield now, aiming toward Gomez. Gomez just throws herself in to the challenge. Now here comes Frégis. Frégis still on the march. Najeli Changa. Can't she release Boss now? She just can't, and Neptune steps in to snuff out that burgeoning attack. Here's Beaumont. Step over. Beaumont. Good skill. Up towards Chloe, but Andrew again ever present in that St. Lucian defense. And here she is, Andrew. Trying to find some space.
It's offside.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Boss still yet to get a touch on the ball.
So here we are with Polius again, just getting away from the Bonaire defense. And we're done for 2 hat-tricks in 2 days for the St. Lucian number 11. That time outpacing Sherizin Frey. And of course, tucking it really calmly past Trinidad in goal for Bonaire.
Yeah, running out of superlatives to describe this lady's talent. Onto the long ball. Again, the touch takes across the defender. And the finish unerring. Superb composure. Hat-trick again from Kayla Polius, number 11 for St. Lucia.
Yeah, she's having a fine tournament so far. And it must be said that she's reacted really well to the disappointment of that defeat yesterday. She's come out really full of energy, full of invention for St. Lucia today. And speaking of invention, how calm was that by Andrew? This is Tissot to Frégis now. Frégis gets this one forward to Mata. Mata turns nicely past Frey. Tries to slip it to Polius, but the pass just wasn't into the space. She wanted it ahead of her.
Yeah, that's the better option there. Just knock it into that wide open space behind the Bonaire defense. Instead, she was trying to play it to the feet of Polius. But the difference, one of the differences anyway, from St. Lucia's heartbreaking loss yesterday and today's march towards victory is a few things. I think Frigis has been really instrumental in providing an extra option for the St. Lucians on the ball to take a little bit of the attention off of Polias and allow a little bit more freedom and a little less responsibility. In addition to that, that centre back pair of Andrew and Neptune has been sturdy all day long.
Certainly has. Behind them, Andrea De Carries hasn't had much to do all day.
No.
And that's simply because of the work being done by the defensive pairing, certainly of Andrew and Neptune, but credit as well to Tisson in that right wing back position, as well as Vernevia Louis in the left wing back position.
Yeah, you can't defend alone. Your defensive effort is always a collective effort, and they've played really, really well together. Even if the ball gets behind one of them, there's always somebody around on the cover. It's been a really, really good collective effort from them. A little bit more work to do here to defend this free kick. Looks like it's going to be struck with the left foot
of Klinger. There's been a substitution, though, for Bonaire. The player just coming into your picture, number 15, Louis Schutt, has come in for Uniqua Gomez, who had actually gone down injured in the build-up to this attempt on goal. And is it in? It didn't cross the line. It struck the crossbar. And it looked to come back off the back of either the goalkeeper, De Carries, or one of the defenders stationed on the line. Look at this. They're deeper than she is. And Frigis went up. It hit her in the back, but just bounced on the line and spun back out. And Frigis's reaction tells you that that was mighty close. Klinger from way downtown, able to rattle the crossbar. And unfortunate not to have that one crash back down over the goal line. Somehow it stayed out.
Yeah, when things like that happen, it's a sort of ominous sign perhaps for Bonaire. It just might not be their day. Take nothing away from that strike, though. A maul of almost 30 yards. Soared over the keeper.
Yeah, certainly worth another look as we see the two defenders on the line. One of them Frigis, the other Andrew. It struck the bar and came back off the back of Frigis. Not too conclusive, that angle, but it seemed to have stayed out, as certainly did by the decision of the assistant referee on that far side and referee Jacobs. But boy, oh boy, talk about dodging a bullet.
Yeah, mighty close. That might have put some wind in the sails of Bonaire for these last 20 odd minutes. But instead, at the cooling break, it's St. Lucia who hold that 3-goal advantage.
Yeah, certainly Bonaire have shown more signs of life in this second period. Despite the performance of Polias, she's added to her first half goal, hitting the target twice more in the second half to give St. Lucia a fairly comfortable lead. But Bonaire have certainly reacted well and maybe deserve a goal, at least from that free kick that we saw moments ago. Still, though, they are trailing 3-0.
Yeah, it's a long way back from here. They have played a few cards. They've thrown on Bosch and Bomo and Peters to liven up their attack. Hasn't quite worked out for them, at least not just yet. And St. Lucia throwing on some reinforcements of their own.
Yeah, the players that will call it a day for now. Sasha Lee Mata, number 3. She's replaced by number 9, Kiana Jean. And of course, the second substitution is Kayla Toussaint. Number 7 will exit. And in is number 13, Chastity McDonald. So, whereas they only made one change from the squad that started yesterday, Rodolfo, St. Lucia now in a position that they can take the opportunity to field some of the other players that may have or may not have gotten too many minutes thus far in the competition. Of course, one of the requirements by teams is that all of their squad members must play at least 70 minutes by the end of their group play fixtures. So, perfect opportunity for St. Lucia to, clear the bench, as to borrow a phrase from basketball, and allow some of those players now to get some minutes in their legs.
Yeah, I think that's a good stipulation that to ensure that everybody gets a taste of this action, gets to stand on that platform and express themselves, show what they're made of, accrue that experience. That'll be so invaluable as they develop as young footballers.
Meanwhile, a chance here for Bonaire, but Andrea De Carey's, it's easy to lose focus when you don't have much to do, as she's certainly experienced, but she's really acquitted herself very well whenever called upon in that goal for St. Lucia. That time, Polias just trying to be a bit overcomplicated.
Yeah, she had the opportunity to play Sam in. I reckon she would have the beating of most girls on the pitch with her pace. Opted to cut inside and eventually crowded out.
Moments ago in the background, you would have seen the arrival of Trinidad and Tobago ahead of the 6 p.m. kickoff here at the Hazy Crawford Stadium. The home team looking to bounce back from a 2-1 defeat last evening to Aruba. They'll be taking on Bermuda at 6 p.m. So if you're viewing this broadcast from somewhere further afield, still enough time to head on down to Port of Spain, the Hazy Crawford Stadium, in time to witness Trinidad and Tobago taking on Bermuda from 6 p.m. In the meanwhile, though, this is another opportunity for Bonaire to maybe blemish the clean sheet of St. Lucia. This is a long kick forward and it's way off target. De Carey's allows it to run out of play.
Yeah, anything going over the top in that manner is going to zip through. There was a little bit of rain earlier on and there's a bit of a slick on the surface. So those balls skid through. And De Carey's has been competent in fielding those.
And you sense that the opportunity to release Sam continues to pass St. Lucia by. That time, Frégiste certainly had an opportunity. This is the substitute Jean for St. Lucia, trying to make a nuisance of herself. Speaking of nuisance, here's Polias again. They must be fed up of trying to contain her, Bonaire.
She's been a thorn on the side of all those white shirts all afternoon long. I'll be happy to see the back of her at the end of this game.
Here is an opportunity for Bonaire. The ball won by Is it
Louis?
Louis?
Yeah.
Louis?
Yeah, the fourth of that.
Actually, that's Openor. She's been fairly quiet all day long for Bonaire. Fairly anonymous. As they have another throw in here. The Dutch Islanders. This is Klinger. Klinger is a tricky customer. Cultured left foot as she delivers that cross in. But it's only picked up by Akela Sam. She gets past Beaumont, who goes down clutching her face. Maybe a straying arm. Trying to release Polius again. And referee Jacobs halts play now for the head injury. Of course, those must be treated with utmost urgency, as Beaumont is still down. She went down immediately after attempting to put in a challenge, with Akela Sam attempting to break away for St. Lucia. Didn't seem to be anything malicious by Sam. As we have another look at it, yeah, she just skipped past the challenge, and maybe that trailing arm there striking Beaumont in the face. She's up on her feet meanwhile, but she's gingerly walking off to the sideline where she'll receive further treatment.
Yeah, like you said, no intent there from Sam. It's unfortunate to get caught to that flailing left arm. That's gotta hurt though.
Meanwhile, down in this deep end of the Bonaire half, play resumes. A drop ball to the team in white. It's a good-looking ball by Janga, looking for Schutt. Cleared away, though, by the St. Lucian defense. Still alive. Janga. That's a free kick to the team in blue, St. Lucia. Andrew now will look over the top toward Polius. Polius attended to by Florentina, the Bonaire captain. She's had her work cut out in this one. She's done well, admittedly. Most of Polius's joy has come either more through the middle of that defensive pairing or from the left-hand side. But Florentina on this left side of the two centre-backs has done well for herself. This time, though, she must be careful. She was trying to allow that one to run back to her goalkeeper, and Jean was trying to sneak in. She went to ground, the St. Lucian, but referee Jacobs didn't see anything suspiciously foul. Meanwhile, here they come again, Bonaire. Klinger will get there ahead of Neptune. It's probably the first time she's been beaten for pace. Klinger still aiming this one back toward Jenga. Nejeli Jenga declares only parries it as far as Boss, and maybe that was a moment. She's waited and waited since being introduced as a substitute at the very beginning of the second half, Boss. And that time, as the ball was parried back into her path, she saw her names in the headlines for sure. A wild swing, bearing no fruit. As we see again, Florentina getting the better of Polius.
Big chance there for Bosch. Could have set us up for an interesting last 5 minutes if she had knocked that one in. What a swipe at it, as you said, her eyes lit up. She probably just took her eyes off the ball when it rebounded to her from the initial shot from Klinger. And it was a wild swing, really. No connection whatsoever. And a big, massive chance going up again.
One of those you wish you can get back.
Sure.
Frigis has done well as well. As mentioned earlier, the only change in the St. Lucian starting lineup from yesterday's defeat. Oh, that's a good touch. This is Jean putting her body in. Here she is again.
She's definitely thrown herself around since coming on. Nippy.
She battled and really made that Bonaire defense very uncomfortable. And this time she's earning a throw-in for her team. So it's the kind of impact you want to have as a substitute and the kind of option you'd want to have as a coach. As St. Lucia makes a goalkeeping substitution. Sprinting off was Andrea De Carries, and it seemed as though she got the instruction to take her time and receive the applause of her dugout. Her replacement is number 16, and that's Kevlin Foston.
Yeah, again, rotation. Time enough to do that. You have a comfortable 3-0 lead. Giving these kids an opportunity to have a taste of the action. Of course, this is their third game in 3 days. So important to rotate to try as well to keep everyone fresh.
So just about 3 minutes remaining in regulation time. As yet again, a foul throw. I mean, this is the arena for that to be eradicated from the game of these young players. Practice makes perfect. But we've seen quite a lot of them, especially today. Here's Boss. Finally, she gets a touch. Klinger. Shoot. Klinger continues her run. That's just a weak effort. Weary legs. Quite evident. Andrew. She has Sam to the inside. Sam gets it now. Kayla Sam with a free lane on goal. But look at Florentina.
Yeah, we talk about Andrew and Neptune for St. Lucia, but Fiorentina has been just as good as those two for Bonaire. Again, in the way of yet another St. Lucia attack.
And Kayla Sam is no slouch.
No.
She made up a lot of ground, Florentina, and that's the kind of will that you'd want to see from your players, especially at this late stage. I'll tell you what, I've been in that position before, and many a times I've given up.
Yeah, there's no giving up from Bonaire, certainly not from Fiorentina.
Another corner kick here for St. Lucia, as that one was blocked on the near post by Schutt. Polius, again, to try to deliver onto the head of a blue shirt. This is a good one. And again, Klinger is there. This is Chloe Peters, trying to just will herself forward. Peters steps inside of Tissot, and then wins the throw-in, or should have been. Well, okay, referee Jacobs is now signaling that it's going in the direction of the white team. Schutt tries to get it back to Peters, and it's just lifted away by Andrew. Polius to renew that duel with Florentina. The Bonaire captain just does enough to get it out on this near side for a throw-in. He saw. As the fourth official readies to display 2 minutes of additional time to this second half. Might be 2 minutes too many for some of these players. A pair of them have gone down in a heap in this Bonaire penalty area. One of them looks to be the St. Lucian substitute, Kiana Jean. The other is Bonaire's Frey. Both of them writhing in agony down there.
Yeah, Bonaire after this game, well, we have to assume that they're not going to get anything out of this. Would be tied on points with St. Lucia. Bonaire have 2 games left, of course. They play against St. Kitts and Nevis. And they also have to play against US Virgin Islands. So there's still possible 6 points up for grab for them. St. Lucia, of course, have 1 game left against St. Kitts. And that's happening tomorrow at the Atto Boland Stadium at 4 p.m. So this victory for St. Lucia blasts this group wide open. And opens the door to so many permutations as to who may advance.
So play has since resumed. Not much time left on the clock. Bonaire trying to get themselves forward through shoot, but she runs this one out of touch. It's the end of the day for Frey. And so too the St. Lucian substitute, Jean, unable to continue, and she's replaced by number 2, Joel George. So an unfortunate end to a really firebrand of a cameo from Jean. She's thrown herself around. She's made herself a nuisance. She's harassed and bothered the Bonaire defense ever since she came on at the start of the second half. And unfortunately, she's injured out. Meantime, that's all she wrote here at the Hazley Crawford Stadium in this Group A encounter in Tier 2 that sees St. Lucia come away with a shutout victory, 3-0 over Bonaire. It was a game that really and truly St. Lucia would have bossed from the very first whistle. And of course, only had 1 goal to show for it at halftime. However, through that very talented player, Kayla Polius, able to add a double in the second half for a trick overall, a second hat trick in as many fixtures for St. Lucia, and they get their first 3 points on the board.
Yeah, it was a Polio show this afternoon. Solid all-round performance from St. Lucia to put them back into contention in this group. Bonaire have to get back to the drawing board and figure out where they went wrong for their next encounter tomorrow. As I said, this opens this group up so much. But for this afternoon, it's the accolades go to St. Lucia and, of course, Kayla Polius.
So this is how the group would have stood before kickoff today. St. Lucia, as you see at the very bottom of the picture, now able to pick up 3 points. They'll jump up to 3rd in the group with their first 3 points. And, of course, they've also reduced their goal difference to -4 with 3 goals scored today. 1 win, 0 draws, and 2 defeats for St. Lucia brings them into 3rd. Bonaire still without a point in the match. So here's what transpired over the course of 70 minutes today. Kayla Polius, just 5 minutes in burst through the Bonaire backline and then finished with authority to give St. Lucia a 1-0 lead.
Clever use of the body to get across the defender.
They should have added to that lead just about 5 minutes later when Akela Sam had this shot on target, well, on goal, but it was over the bar. In the second half, however, early in the second half, Kayla Polias broke away again. This time the finish was high and into the roof of the net. Nothing much that the Bonaire goalkeeper, Alicia Trinidad, could do.
And then on the breakaway, ball played over the top, outpacing the defense once more. Still managed to keep her composure and slotted past Trinidad for her hat-trick.
I think that's perhaps one of the more impressive parts of her game, as we see that chance that came in the 53rd minute from Klinger way outside. It crashed off the crossbar and bounced, but didn't bounce over the line. Then this chance for Boss with 6 minutes remaining. It could have been something of a consolation for Bonaire, but she couldn't make proper contact. And in the end, that's how things unfolded. 3-0, the margin of victory for St. Lucia. And again, that rising star, Kayla Polias, able to distinguish herself from her peers with a second hat-trick in as many matches for St. Lucia. This time, she comes out with a smile after a 4-3 defeat yesterday against Dominica. That brings us to the end of match number 2 here at the Hazley Crawford Stadium on day number 3 in this 2025 CFU Under-14 Challenge Series Girls competition. At 6 p.m., it's the host country Trinidad and Tobago aiming to rebound from a defeat yesterday afternoon to Aruba, and they will be taking on Bermuda in Tier 1.
Not simply about how many games you win, but more about how many lives you touch. This is why we do it.
Because football is life.
Because we know firsthand the power football can positively change lives.
Because there's nothing else we'd rather do.
Because our hearts beat football.
Because there's nothing quite like representing your country.
For the love of the game.
Por el amor.
Pour l'amour. I'd leave the war.
For the love of the beautiful game.
Our world is filled with rhythm. Rhythm that's unapologetic, infectious, timeless. Rhythm is commitment in action. It's how we show up for each other with unrelenting support that goes the distance. Rhythm lives in the tiny beats of our most intimate moments and the seismic roars of our biggest achievements. Rhythm is resilience in motion. So even when things go out of sync, we do what it takes to bring the rhythm back. At Flow, we understand your rhythm because we live it. That's why we're dedicated to building a network as resilient as you, with a team of familiar faces working every day to keep you on beat. You're at the heart of everything we do, and our commitment is to keep your rhythm flowing, no matter what.